Welcome, welcome, everyone. We're on day 6 of 21 Days of Fear. If you haven't been following along, we're on day 6 now, and you can go back either onto my IGTV or into my videos on Facebook. I'm also slowly uploading these videos onto my YouTube page to catch the first 5 days of 21 Days of Fear. So today we're going to be talking about showing up for ourselves. And I can't even count on all my fingers and all my toes how many times I have had someone reach out to me and say they are ready to do the deeper inner healing work, say they're ready to grow and evolve and change their lives, and then say, I'm afraid. You know, I'm afraid to do this. I really know I want to do this. I'm afraid to do this. And I'm not good on percentages here. That being said, the vast majority of those people will end up not committing, not showing up, not taking it seriously. And this is a really important fear to talk about because it stops us from change. It stops us from healing. It stops us from growing. It stops us from becoming the best version of ourselves that we are here to be for our families, for our businesses, for our partnerships, for all the relationships in our lives, and for humanity, for the changes that are wanting to be happening now through all of us being willing to grow and evolve and change. So being able to actually show up and do the work to create the changes in our lives is imperative. Yet we have these fears that stand in the way from us actually saying, yes, I'm going to do this. And then, yes, I'm going to push through all the things, all the fears that are telling me that there's not enough money or enough time, or I don't think I'm going to be able to do this, or maybe I'm not actually worthy of it, or I'm not sure. All the stories that we make up that essentially say, like, I'm actually afraid to show up for myself right now. I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm afraid that I'm not going to heal. I'm afraid that I'm going to fail. And all these fears stop us from doing the very things that are going to help us to heal, that are going to help us to grow beyond the fears to begin with, which I feel is everyone's intention here. Otherwise, you wouldn't be likely watching these 21 Days of Fear. So we must be mindful of this fact that fear, it doesn't want to change because it's innately afraid of itself. So it shows up and it actually fears taking responsibility for our lives. And when we're unable to take that responsibility from our lives, we're in a state of victim role, right? We're playing out this victim where, woe is me to life and all the things that are happening, and I can't change it because I don't have all the things that I think I need in order to change it. But actually that thought is blocking all those things from coming in and allowing myself to receive it. So showing up for ourselves is the very first step, right? Of experiencing anything different in our lives, we first must show up. So we have to recognize that there are patterns that get programmed into our systems internally that say, hey, maybe you shouldn't do this because you've actually grown really comfortable in your suffering. Right? This is something so key to realize within, is that because fear is fear, it's okay with being fear. Right? It doesn't feel like it needs to change it. And it's actually easier to stay in the comforts of the suffering that our unprocessed trauma, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, is creating in our experiential reality. It's easier to stay in suffering than to show up for ourselves and change our fundamental systems internally that will actually create a new world experience for us to be had. Right? It is easier to be in pain than to heal, because being in pain, we don't have to do anything, right? We don't have to show up. We can just keep complaining and judging and shaming ourselves and guilting ourselves and all the things, because that's actually easier than doing something different Why is it easier? Right? Why is it easier to stay in pain, to stay in suffering, to stay in dis-ease than to do something different and to heal ourselves? Because our systems, our neurology, the neurological pathways in our brain, our nervous system, these two fundamental systems, and our endocrine system plays a role in this as well, how our hormones balance. These systems get into a program, and in order to change that program, we have to do something about it. We have to go in and proactively create change. So if we're constantly spiraling backwards, we're staying in this program. This is just how we're unconsciously operating, right? Our subconscious is just doing all the things. It's running all the neural pathways, it's running all the systems, and it's set in its program. So it's easier for it to stay in its program than for us to do the changes that are necessary to actually shift those core programs and bring our systems back into harmony. And not only are we needing right now to bring our systems back into harmony, we're needing to learn how to become masters of these systems. And what does it look like to be a master of your internal systems? Right? A lot of us just think, okay, my brain is just doing what it's doing. It's just doing these things. My brain keeps going. I don't have to think about what my brain is doing. Well, what if I told you that you could actually be a master of your brain, of your neurology? You could actually choose what pathways you wanted information to run through your brain. You could choose very consciously if you wanted your brain to go into sympathetic dominance, fight or flight mode when you get triggered by something, or if you wanted your brain to go into, okay, I'm going to heal, I'm going to integrate, I'm going to find grace in this moment and stay calm. Right? We can master these systems that we have previously thought were just automatic. So we haven't effectively shown up for ourselves to create those changes that are necessary to change our lives. By now, I think that anyone who's tuning into this video is aware that our inner world is creating our external world. And the more that you start to learn about what's happening in these core systems that are running your life, your body, they're also creating the holograph that you're seeing. They're creating the experiences, they're creating the people, they're creating the opportunities, they're creating what you see. So if we want to create change out there, we have to create change in here, in our systems, to the programs that are running, which means we must show up for ourselves, show up for our life. And showing up, there's like fear behind that, right? There's this fear of showing up because we fear change, even though change is the most natural thing in the universe. Things are always changing. You ever heard the statement, change is the only constant in the universe? Yet there's this part of us that fears it so deeply. Because when we enter into the alchemical container of change, we go into these spaces where all of our previous beliefs and our identifications and our alliances and our tribe and all the things that we have used to validate our existence come into question. And the ego personality self within us is like, no, 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 no. I'm not going to question all my beliefs and all my identities and all my things and all the connections and addictions that I've utilized to validate my existence. How does that really serve us, though, if the existence that we're validating is pain and suffering and struggle and stress and anxiety and fear and lack and limitation, and things are always going to be challenging, or maybe in the future things will get better? If things don't change right now, they're not going to change in the future, because the only moment that exists is right now. You're creating your experience in the future right now based on who you're choosing to be and how you're choosing to show up. If you're willing to say, okay, what I'm experiencing in my reality, the kind of relationships that I'm having, the work that I'm experiencing, the health that's going on internally in my body, how I'm feeling from day to day, moment to moment, is something that I'm not happy about. And that right there, that moment is the moment where you have the opportunity to show up for yourself. Because there are amazing people on this planet who have developed practices and technologies and have studied the plant kingdoms and have mineral kingdoms and have come to learn how we restore balance to our systems. So the information is available. And I know that you know that because you're watching the information come through right now in this video. The question is, when you hear that, oh, that's for me, I'd really love to do that because I'm ready to heal XYZ, that is the moment that you must show up. No matter what fear says, because fear is going to have 101 million reasons to not change your life, to not heal, because it's easier to stay suffering. It's easier to be sick. It's easier to put a Band-Aid over your problems and pretend like they're not there. We've created an entire industry of it. It's called pharmacy. Pharmacy. Right? Let's just put something on top of this and mask all the symptoms. If you're not experiencing the symptoms, then it's like the disease isn't even there. And that's so much easier than actually going in and restoring balance to our systems that is creating the disease to begin with. Right? So what I really wish to share and express in this 6th day of 21 Days of Fear is that when you know it's time to change, when you know there's things inside of you that are creating a reality that you're no longer comfortable with, it's up to you to show up and to invest in yourself. Investing in yourself, becoming healed and whole, and having mastery over your internal systems so that you can continue to be the creator of your reality. Look, I have this whole book coming out. It's called Creator Consciousness, and it's all about the path of creating your reality. Yet, when our systems are out of balance and they're operating so subconsciously to us that we don't know how to go in and change those programs, change those patterns, we're not going to be able to create our reality because we're constantly creating through the programs. So we have to show up and change, right? So identify any part of you that says, oh, I really want to do that. I'm ready to heal. I'm ready to change this, and then doesn't do anything about it. Or maybe has the conversation and then says, oh, but I'm afraid. And this part of us loves to use the word but. I really love to do this but. Oh, I'm so ready for this but. Oh, I need this but. To cancel out that soul expression that says, hey, this is what is going to support you to heal right now. This is the person to reach out to support you to heal right now. This is the relationship to support you to heal right now. And I keep saying heal right now because that is our purpose right now. And if you don't recognize that, look out into the planet. Look at the planet that's burning down. Right? Our planet's literally saying, there is so much toxicity here. I have no choice other than to burn to the ground. Right? Healing is our #1 priority right now. And healing the planet, planting a bunch of trees, isn't going to do shit if we don't heal our internal systems that are thinking it's okay to throw trash out the window. That are thinking it's okay to curse out someone they cut us off in traffic. That are thinking it's okay, we can put chemtrails into the sky because fuck the sun. Who needs the sun? Right? If that internal part of us that is wounded and afraid and traumatized continues to rule the human species, it doesn't matter how many trees we plant. Mother Earth is going to have 2 choices. Keep the human species here in its wounded, traumatic self and destroy the planet, or let the humans plant a bunch of trees, see if they'll get their shit together, and if they don't, bye-bye humans. right? Because Earth is also a self-sustaining ecosystem, just like we have internally. We're seeing that right now. Inner, outer, they're mirrors of each other. So our internal compass right now is saying our systems are out of balance, and we're getting that by massive amounts of trauma is surfacing to the surface right now of our awareness. I had this conversation with Alex the other day where I was like, you know, a lot of my really intense traumas, they happened when I was a child or in my early 20s, and I have had no symptoms of these traumas until the last 2 years. And a few of the things that I tuned in was, one, because we're bringing in such higher frequencies from our sun right now, these plasma waves that are coming through, that if you aren't aware of them, type a quick search on YouTube and you'll see people capturing them on film. We've had plants in our garden spontaneously be scorched. We had this beautiful African violet plant that was green and lush and healthy. And one day we woke up and the leaves on this plant were literally torched black, like charred, like they had been in a fire, even though there was no fire at all. The only thing that there was the sun. Right? So we're in a time where we are moving rapidly into a new part of the Milky Way that is a higher frequency, and everything in our solar system is changing. Right? The sun is heating up. It's not the earth. The whole system is raising its frequency. So in order for us to actually go forward and to be able to continuously stay here in our cushy human experience, we have to go in and do the deeper healing work. Because if we don't show up within and heal everything that's surfacing right now, right? We've known this was coming. If we look to what's happening in our solar system, these alignments that are happening are rare. They're once in a lifetime, once in thousands of lifetimes, really, to be very clear on that. Which means right now we're even more sensitive than ever, because all of the unprocessed traumas, whether that was physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual, your karma, that is all bubbling up to the surface right now, because these systems have to come back into balance and harmony. And we don't recognize to go do the healing work until the symptoms are so profound that we are standing on the edge of a cliff and we have no other choice to jump. Right? So we must really look at what's happening in our lives right now and show up to change. Show up to the healing that's being requested. That is our only purpose right now on the planet. Heal. Then in 20 years, when we have created a whole new reality on this time band from our healing process, then we can start going into different new projects and new experiences and all the things. But right now, our focus is on healing. So the invitation is for you to show up and recognize that fear is going to show up too and say, no, don't do it, don't change. And in those moments, what I personally like to do is I just sit and I feel the fear. I feel the ego that is pushing, it's fighting, it's burning up all my systems, it's bringing everything to the forefront. And in that moment, I call on a higher part of myself. And I don't have a name for that higher part of myself. I literally will just say, I need a higher part of myself to step in right now, because this fear is wild. And in my experience, that higher part of myself always shows up. And I make the investment. I go to the healer. I do the things. Because that's what that part of ourselves is here for. Because that part of ourselves that is a higher part of ourselves is already in the future and it's already healed. So invoke that part of yourself so that you can create the changes in your life to show up for yourself, to show up for humanity, and to show up for this planet. So with that being said, I've gone well over my 10-minute, 21 Days of Fear, 10-15 minute time frame that I've given myself. We're at 20 minutes here, so I'm going to tune out for today. I'll be back tomorrow with another day 7. And again, if you're just tuning in for the first time on 21 Days of Fear, I'm streaming live every day showing the different ways that fear shows up in our lives that we might not even realize fear is showing up in our lives to hold us back from truly healing and truly thriving. So if you are just tuning into this, go back into my Instagram TV, IGTV. I have the replays on Facebook. You can go to the videos on my page. I'm also uploading them to YouTube as well. So they're all there. Tune in and appreciate all of you for your willingness to show up. Have a beautiful Sunday.